low percentage play. So I was stunned that they didn't take that. They would have been up 10-0 at that point.
10-zip, yep.
And the only 7 the Patriots put up was on the Stidham mistake. So it's coach and quarterback. And again, as Phil pointed out at the outset, the Patriots managed the game as it evolved and played the game by looking at what the other team they felt was capable of and what they were capable of, given the conditions and the time and the score.
Even the way the Patriots handled the football when they had it in the second half and the weather was getting worse. The job they did to suppress whatever inclination they had to throw the football on third down to try to sustain a drive. It was like they were completely content to just punt the thing away. They weren't even getting a good day from their punter, Bryce Behringer. That's a discussion we can have a little bit later. But really, not getting consistent work from him, and yet still they understood we're almost better off not having the football right now. And so even though we're clinging to a 3-point lead, I liked the way they handled the game. And then to run the quarterback at the end and run him for a first down for basically the game-clinching play, that to me is how you handle a situation like the one they were in today.
And the funny thing, too, Mike, is you almost have to anticipate at some point, no matter how much arm talent Stidham has, he may make a mistake that'll put the Patriots. So, I mean, Sean Payton not presuming that at some point we're going to be put into a negative situation because of a mistake that our quarterback may make. I just really don't understand not taking the 3. And the Patriots did the same thing. And they came real close to not picking that up.
But they picked it up, and then they finally got the 3.
They got the field goal. But I just, in a game like that, I mean, we can talk. There's a lot of tiny decisions that are made, and they're never 100-0. To me, they're 51-49, 52-48. To take the points there, I think, was a little closer to 60-40 in reading what was going on.
We've had some weather games in the NFL playoffs. We've seen them the last couple of weeks with the Patriots here against Houston last week, and then on the road in Denver today. So in the NFL today, guys, you got to have a rules guy, you got to have an analytics guy, you got to have a weather guy. Just telling you, look, hey, listen, take the points now because it's going to get crazy here in about an hour. And that's what happened with the Broncos today. They did, once the weather settled in, they couldn't do anything. And I wonder if you're the Broncos, you look at the season, the Broncos and Patriots, their season kind of played out the way it has all year long. All year long, the Patriots, despite their progression upward, first drive from the opponent or first couple of drives from the opponent gets a early touchdown, and you say, what the hell, where'd that come from? Then they settle down. The Broncos all season long, I think they had 7 or 8 one-score games. This is a one-score game. They struggled with their offense all season long. They probably will have struggled today with Bo Nix as well, Phil. Bo Nix is clearly better than Jarrett Stidham, but this has been an issue for the Broncos most of the season. They were booed. Remember, they were booed in that Thursday night game against the Raiders where they struggled against them, too. So it's just interesting how the Patriots and Broncos have stayed true to form all the way through the season.
Yeah, they were getting booed today by their home crowd early in that game because it was run, pass, and punt it away.
Yep.
And I understand it to some degree, but I think maybe Sean Payton just got a little impatient by going for it when he did and making that critical mistake and maybe believing a little too much in his own play calls and not understanding the situation, what the weather might look like in the second half, but also understanding who you have at quarterback. And yes, you can have all the confidence in the world that he's going to make the right play if it goes according to plan, but on that play in particular, he's rolling right. There are Patriots that are breaking through the line almost immediately, and Jarrett Stidham, for his career, small sample size, he's been a really bad quarterback, a 40% completion player when under pressure. And so there are just things you can't anticipate, and I think Sean Payton should have baked that into his decision-making by kicking that field goal instead of going for it and really ruining his team's chances. He couldn't have known it at the time, but that's how it ended up playing out.
It really is when you pull back a little bit and look what just happened and the end result when this game went final on my computer, and it's a little bit ahead. I'm just processed. That's it. They're going to the Super Bowl. To think that this team is 17-3 after being 4-13 last year and 4-13 the year before, they're now at more than twice what they won in the previous 2 seasons when you add in the postseason games. And they've now gone through the Chargers defense. They've gone through the Texans defense. They didn't necessarily go through the Broncos defense per se, but they beat the Broncos, who have a terrific defense. They're just an incredibly resourceful team. I don't know whether you can use this game, Teddy, as a measure of what you're going to look at over the next 14 days between now and whoever they play in Santa Clara. But I do think that one thing will translate, and that is Drake Maye's mobility. And Drake Maye, that's the undervalued part of his argument as the MVP. The votes are long since in. Chances are good, based on precedent, that if you're the all-pro quarterback, which Matthew Stafford was, you'll also be the MVP. But when you added up all the running that Drake Maye did and compared that to Matthew Stafford, he outgained him. He was closer in total touchdowns. And the Patriots are going because of Drake May's running ability. And the last play really underscored that. So it's interesting when you look at the totality of the season a little bit, Ted, and look at those things. Do you think this game, will it all be anything that the Rams or the Seahawks are going to look at and say, oh, boy, I can tell what they're doing there?
I wouldn't use this game to scout for this Super Bowl at all. I mean, I would. I mean, the conditions dictated, obviously, a lot of what the Patriots did. The opponent dictated a lot of what the Patriots did. Now, I'd like to think it's the weather conditions out there for the Super Bowl. It's going to be, I don't know, 50s and sunny, and probably the best conditions they've had of any playoff game so far. I just can't imagine, honestly, these last 2 or 3 games being all that significant. I know you got to watch some of it, whoever the opponent is. But I just these last few games have not been Drake Maye, mostly because I think of the conditions. Although I was surprised, guys, to see Drake. He looked a little off kilter to start the game. He looked a little, and the conditions were good that first half. He was kind of trying to steer the ball in there as opposed to just letting it go. So it looked like a little bit of the pressure for the first time in the playoffs got to him. But I can't imagine that trend continuing with the nice weather they're going to get. I just don't think that these games and these playoffs, with as bad as the conditions were last week in Foxborough, today in Denver, that it's going to be much use for whoever the opponent is in the Super Bowl.
Ted, you have to forgive us. I mean, you're on the set with 3 writers at heart here. Okay, so yeah, think about some of the connections here. Adam Vinatieri's in the booth, 24 years after making one of the greatest kicks in NFL history. He's in the booth with the Crafts, and it's a weather game, and the Patriots win and go to the Super Bowl with a team coached by Mike Vrabel, who was a teammate of yours on the 2001 team that nobody expected. And where's the Super Bowl, Teddy? San Francisco, the hometown of Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. I mean, just the connections. Really, when you put this team into context, this 2025 Patriots team, when you saw it, the banner on there, 2025 AFC champions, New England Patriots, do they remind you of you guys in 2001? Have they ascended past that, or are they just something different? What do you think of when you see this team?
You know what? I think it's something new and different. I really do. I mean, I know Mike obviously connected to the old teams, but the way in which he coaches this team is very different than the way Coach Belichick coached us. Very, very different. Look, in Mike, I always said from the very beginning that he was the smartest player I've ever played with, that he would be a head coach someday. But to do what he's done in just the first year here is remarkable. I know he's been successful in Tennessee, but with all the new players, more than 2/3 of this team was brand spanking new that he brought in. A lot of coaches from diverse backgrounds that he brought in for it all to come together. He's working with a new general manager for the first time. So it's a lot of these things that you just wouldn't expect to happen the first year it happened. But I don't feel like a lot of ties to the old regime, and I feel like Mike has put his own stamp and his own kind of spin on this. And so it's a new and different era for the Patriots right now.
Yeah, I think this team is far, far different from the 01 edition, even though the parallels are there with the turnaround. That team went from 8-8 to 5-11 to 11-5, but it was dotted with the Lawyer Malloys and Ty Laws, and Ted Johnson, Willie McGinnis,
Brewski,
Mike Vrabel, Brewski, Bledsoe, who was a franchise quarterback, Terry Glenn, who was a great player. So that team was littered with high draft picks who were very good players. This Patriots team was assembled in a lab. It was just this is not a homegrown team necessarily. It's key players, Gonzalez, Maye, Will Campbell, are up-and-coming players, but they bought this team and drafted this team this year. And I would say, too, that this 2025 season in the AFC is different than back then. There are cycles. I'm talking about the schedule and the strength of this conference right now. It's not what it was then when it had Manning and McNair on the rise, and it had the Raiders as good as they were, and
Kurt
the
Warner
Steelers
in the Rams lost too late in that season, right?
So those are all teams that were the Patriots, I'm not discrediting what they've done. It's just a far different, more magical and unexpected story in some ways.
Yeah, I was just going to use that word, unexpected. And both were unexpected, right? But maybe this one even more so, and that just lends to the feeling that Patriots fans, I'm sure, are feeling right now. I think the other similarity between these two teams is, and I'm not sure I would have said this about this particular Patriots team a month ago, but understanding what the game needs and giving what the game needs in order to come away victorious. These last 3 weeks now, they've won on defense. And I'm not sure how many weeks on the Patriots schedule you could look at it and say, boy, the defense bailed out the offense on this one. You had a quarterback who's on an MVP run from damn near start to finish outside a couple games in that first month of the season. This was a Drake Maye-led operation. Last 3 weeks, it's what's gone on the other side of the ball that has pushed them to the heights that they've now achieved. And I give them a lot of credit for that. I give their coaching staff a lot of credit for that. I think you have to give the depth of the roster a lot of credit there. And so in that way, this team is similar to that one, I think, all the way back in 2001.
There's some adaptability. There is similarities in the sense that, we had to adapt back then. We had to morph from week to week. We were game plan defense and a game plan offense. I feel like that's what these two units are. So there are